Hey guys, welcome to John's Fantasy Football Show. I am John, and I thank you guys for being here. This is week 1 episode, and it is games I love and games I hate for week 1, trying to give you guys some advice on who to start and who to sit for this first week of the NFL season. I'm super excited for the NFL to be back. The Lions and the Chiefs kick off Thursday night. It's going to be a great game, a great kickoff. Hopefully, Travis Kelce plays. If he doesn't, it's still going to be a great game. And I'm super excited for football to start this season and to have you guys back this year. Whether or not you guys have come from TikTok or come from the YouTube or the Instagram, I am happy you guys are here. And this is where I give you guys some advice throughout the season before my Sunday live show. And if you guys haven't heard about my Sunday live show, you need to join my Sunday live shows on TikTok every Sunday at 11:45 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour before the 1 o'clock games start. And I give you guys all my advice, weekly picks, weekly sits, rankings, betting picks, everything. And if you guys are looking for even more advice from me, go ahead and join my Patreon. The link is in our bio, and that's where I can answer all your questions throughout the season and throughout each week to help you set your lineup and make trades to improve your team. But without further ado, let's get into it because I want to talk about the games that I love for this week, which are games that I think are going to be high scoring. Guys, play games where I think you should have these players in your fantasy lineups, and I'll talk about specific players in these games. So the first game is the Dolphins at the Chargers. It's a rematch of their matchup last season on Sunday Night Football that I and the Dorm Debate crew went to in LA at SoFi Stadium. It was a great game. That was the game where Tyreek Hill recovered a fumble around midfield and took it all the way to the end zone for a touchdown. It was a great game. I think this year it's going to be pretty high scoring. Week 1, both teams' offenses are back to full strength. So we got Keenan Allen, you're going to want to start him. Herbert, obviously, you're starting him. Eckler, if you have him, you probably took him in the top 5, and you're definitely starting him. Mike Williams, he's a solid flex guy this week. I'd try to get him into your lineup as well. And that's pretty much it on the Chargers side. You got those 4 guys. In terms of tight end, Gerald Everett, he's solid. If you wanted to stream a tight end, I would recommend maybe a guy like Greg Dulcich with possibly Judy being out. But Gerald Everett could be an option if you're in a really deep league, 14-man or deeper. Now, on the Dolphins side of the ball, Tua is back this year. Hopefully, he doesn't get any concussions. Hopefully, they protect him very well. But obviously, Tyreek Hill, you're starting. Jalen Waddle, you're starting as well. Mike Gesicki is gone. He's now on the Patriots. So a lot of these targets are going to be going to Waddle and Tyreek Hill like they were last year. So I'm super excited for them this season. I think they're both going to have great seasons. Now, Jeff Wilson is on IR, so he's not going to play in this game. That leaves Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane in the backfield for the Dolphins. Now, I like both of them, but I like Achane, but a little bit deeper into the season because he's still a rookie and it's still week 1. So they're going to integrate him into this offense slowly. I like Mostert in this game. Now, I wouldn't go ahead and start Mostert in a 12-man league unless you really need it. I'm starting him in one of my 14-man leagues as an RB2. Now, I think he could have a good game because the Chargers' run defense in the past hasn't been great. But at the same time, the Dolphins' offensive line always kind of struggles, and they're not very consistent. So I would kind of try to stay away from Mostert, but if you're looking for an RB2 to stream and you're in a deep league and you don't have any other options, Mostert is a guy that you could stream. Tua, on the other hand, I probably would lean to starting him. He's going to be close to the top QB1 area, so around QB12 for this week. I like him more than a guy like Aaron Rodgers, for example, who's going to be playing on Monday night against the Bills. Even though I think that's going to be a close game, and I think Garrett Wilson will have a decent game, it's going to be tough for Rodgers to outscore Tua in fantasy this week because of their matchups. Now, the second game that I love is the Packers at the Bears. This should be a pretty high-scoring game. Without Aaron Rodgers there, the Bears haven't won a game since 2018 against the Packers, which is crazy. That's 5 years that they haven't won a game. But obviously, if you have Justin Fields, I'm super excited about him this season, rushing the ball. He's going to finish, in my opinion, as a top 5 quarterback this season. So you're starting him. I love DJ Moore this season, and especially this week, I like him against the Packers, so you're starting them too. Khalil Herbert is kind of in the range of Raheem Mostert. I would contemplate starting him if I needed to, but he could be a good start as well. I would probably lean towards Mostert instead of Herbert, but I do like Herbert as well. That's probably it on the Bears side of the football. But on the Packers side of the football, Aaron Jones has got to be in your lineup. Christian Watson dealing with a little bit of a hamstring injury, but he should be good to go. So if he does play, he needs to be in your lineup. I am starting him as a flex in most of my leagues that I have him. I posted on TikTok that he's one of my favorite breakout players for this season. He's the wide receiver one on that team that's going to have to throw a lot. And I know Jordan Love isn't really proven in the NFL, but I think he's going to have a good season and good enough to make Watson fantasy relevant and fantasy breakout potential. Now, the third game that I love is the Bengals at the Browns. The Browns usually play the Bengals tough and not necessarily keeping it low scoring, but scoring points against them as well. So Nick Chubb, you're obviously starting him. He usually has good games against the Bengals. Amari Cooper, you're starting him. Deshaun Watson, I would consider starting him. I like him probably a little bit less than Tua this week, but more than Aaron Rodgers. So there's that. It's interesting to see how they're going to use Elijah Moore. I probably wouldn't start him just yet. Njoku, I probably wouldn't start yet, but those are guys I am keeping an eye on for week one. And also, obviously, on the Bengals side of the ball, Burrow is healthy. He practiced in full. He's going to play week one. And obviously, if you have him, you're starting him. So Burrow's got to be in your lineup. Chase, I'm expecting a big year from. I think him and Jefferson are going to be the number 1 and 2 wide receivers this season. T. Higgins, you're trying to get in your lineup. And Joe Mixon, of course, I'm trying to get him in my lineup. Hayden Hurst is not on the team anymore. Their tight end is Irv Smith, so I would stay away from him for now. But in that Bengals offense, you got 4 viable starters in fantasy football, and I think that's going to be a high-scoring game this week. Now, getting on to the games that I hate, these are games that I probably would fade these players in fantasy football. I would try not to get these guys in your lineup. Now, there are a couple exceptions, which I'll talk about in a second, to these games, because there's got to be somebody that has a fantasy relevant performance in these games, and I'm going to tell you who that guy is going to be. So the first game is the Titans at the Saints. I think this is going to be a pretty low-scoring game. Both teams have pretty good defenses and offenses that are a little unproven. With the Titans, you got DeAndre Hopkins. He's a good wide receiver, but of course getting old, and they have some question marks because Tannehill's back for another year. Derrick Henry's back for another year. What's this offense going to look like? Is it always going to go through Henry again? And what kind of weapons do they have on the outside with D-Hop being the number 1 receiver? And on the Saints side of the ball, you have Derek Carr. We're thinking is an upgrade from Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton from last year, and I think it is, but Michael Thomas is back. Kamara's not there. You got Olave looking for a breakout season. So there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of these offenses, and I think the defenses are going to take control and keep this game pretty low scoring. Now, with that said, I would still start Olave on all your lineups, and I would still start Henry if you have him because he's tough to sit. D-Hop, you're going to have to make a decision about. He's a potential flex play for this week, but he does have a tough matchup against Marshawn Lattimore. Michael Thomas, I wouldn't start him. We still need to see him get back to form. Even though he had good games last season when he played, he just didn't play a lot. Now, in terms of Kendre Miller or Jamal Williams with Alvin Kamara suspended, I wouldn't play any of them just yet, and I know they're going to get the opportunities, but the Titans actually have a pretty good run defense that you guys might not be aware of because last year they were pretty good at it, just kind of on the down low. Just not a lot of people knew about it. So the only guys I'm really starting in this matchup are Olave and Henry, unless you're in super deep leagues. Now, the last game that I hate is the Eagles at the Patriots. Now, the thing is that this is at Gillette Stadium, is the home opener for the Patriots. Now, I think the Eagles will win this game, but I think since it's week 1, I think the Patriots will be able to keep this relatively low scoring. Jalen Hurts, you're starting him, and you're probably starting A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith, I would still start. Goddard, you're probably starting. Now, these guys are tough to sit because of how good the Eagles were last season, but I would just temper your expectations because it is Belichick, and it is a Belichick defense, which can basically stop your best player, which is Jalen Hurts. So he's pretty good at stopping their best player. Now, it is week 1, so maybe Belichick just hasn't seen what the Eagles are going to bring this season, which is why I'm saying you're probably still starting all 4 of those guys on the Eagles. Now, in terms of the running backs, Gainwell or Swift, I wouldn't start either of them, and unless you're in a deeper than a 12-man league, because there's a lot of uncertainty. They've listed all 4 of their running backs as starters on the depth chart, so it remains to be seen how they're going to be used. In my opinion, it's going to be Gainwell and Swift for the most part, but I still want to see it play out, especially against the Patriots defense. Their run defense was one of the best in the league last year, so that's too risky for me. But those other 4 players, Hurts, Goddard, Smith, and A.J. Brown, you're probably getting into your lineup. Just temper expectations and see what other options you have available. And now on the Patriots side of the ball, the only guy I like is Ramondre Stevenson, and I don't even love him. I just like him because the Eagles' defense is actually pretty good. I don't think they're going to allow the Patriots to score more than 2 touchdowns. Hopefully, Stevenson gets one of them, but I probably wouldn't start anybody else on that offense. I still need to see how the receivers shake out with Juju being there and Devontae Parker being probably their number 1 or number 2 option along with Juju. But it just remains to be seen how they're going to be using these receivers, and I just don't think that game's going to be very high scoring. So those are the games I love, guys, that play games that I think you should get those players into your fantasy lineups, and games I hate. So the games that I think you guys should probably avoid from a fantasy perspective. Now, I appreciate you guys watching this video and coming here for more advice before my Sunday live show on Sunday morning, but make sure you join that live show because I am going to be revealing my weekly picks, weekly sits, rankings for all positions, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. I have a lot of new additions to the live show this season that I'm excited to share with you guys, and I'm just happy you guys are back for this season because my favorite part of the fall is spending it with you guys on Sunday morning in those live shows and just enjoying the camaraderie of fantasy football and enjoying it together. I love answering your guys' questions. And if you're looking for me to help you set your lineup, make trades, improve your team, head over to my Patreon. The link is in our bio, in our link tree, on Instagram, on TikTok. And I'd love to help you guys out, whether it's through text or if you join Tier 3 and I could have a phone call with you. But I love talking to you guys. I love this fantasy football season that we're embarking on, and it is just week 1. So thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you on Sunday.